to our People Who Make a Difference interview segment. Our guest today is Itamar Marcus, the director of the Palestinian Media Watch organization. And for 8 years now, he and his dedicated team have been very busy monitoring the internal Palestinian Arabic media and educational world. Every day they listen to Arabic radio, watch Palestinian TV, and read Arabic newspapers. Their work, which has been reported worldwide, has had a significant impact on the way we now see the Palestinians and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Itamar is a beautiful wife and 5 lovely children. Itamar, it's a special joy to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. A pleasure to be with you.
Great. So I guess the burning question on the minds of most people around the world is that since the demise of Yasser Arafat and now the election of Abu Mazen Mahmoud Abbas as the new leader of the Palestinian Authority, has there been any change in their media incitement and what they've been teaching on the media, to kids especially?
There's been a change in quantity, but there has not been a change in quality. We have not received a new message, a message promotion of peace. What we're seeing is the same hate messages, but just less of it, and transmission through different means. I'll give you an example. In February of this year, so we're talking about months after Abu Mazen took over, the senior religious leader, Ibrahim Idrias, speaking on the regular Friday sermon, said that the goal of the whole peace process, supposedly peace process, is destruction of Israel. He said explicitly, the world will not accept the 1948 borders. Therefore, he said, we will reach the 1967 borders through diplomacy, and we will get to the 1948 borders afterward through conquest, just the way Muhammad did. And he went on and repeated this over and over again.
So let's repeat that. You mean to say that they are still saying that they're going to totally conquer Israel and get rid of this nation?
Absolutely. They're still saying it. They're saying less of it. And tragically, the world is satisfied with the change in quantity. The only way we'll have peace is if there's a different message altogether. If the Palestinian leaders tell their people Israel has a right to exist, Israel has a history in this land, Israel will be our neighbor in the future, then that will be the beginning of a peace process. Until then, we have not had even one step in a peace process. What we've had from the Palestinian perspective is a salami dismantling of Israel process. And again, I'm saying this not because I think so, I'm saying this because this is what they tell their people.
I noticed on TV, when I see Mahmoud Abbas, that in his office he has a television sitting there. I wonder if he watches what's actually being shown on Palestinian television himself.
The problem, again, is not Palestinian television. The problem is the society and their messages. Palestinian TV is really not the problem. It's our window into Palestinian society. When we read the newspaper and we read about a sporting event named after a suicide bomber, for example, the suicide bomber who killed 31 at the Passover Seder 2 years ago, and this is a sporting event inside a Palestinian school named the Abdul Basit Oded Championship Cup. That's not a problem with the media. That's a problem with a society that thinks that murdering 31 Israelis and a suicide terrorist is worthy of turning him into a hero for children by having a tournament named after him. So this is the problem. The problem is a society. Now, in the last 3 months alone, we've probably had 30 more items from sporting events under the rule of Mahmoud Abbas, either named after terrorists or the team was named after a terrorist. We have schools continuing to be named after terrorists. Streets are being renamed after terrorists. This is not a problem with the media. This is a problem with a society so that children growing up, every place they turn today, be it walking down the street, going to a sporting event, everywhere they see the names of another terrorist. And these are their heroes, and these children are going to be the future terrorists.
Who is listening to your message, Itamar?
We are presenting this message in parliaments around the world, European Parliament a few times in the last year, British Parliament a few times, United States Congress, people in the administration I just met with recently, at a Senate hearing last year. They're hearing.
Canada?
Question is, are they? Canada as well. I spoke twice in Canadian Parliament in the last, I guess, year and a half as well.
Do you get any response? Are they just polite? I mean, is there anything coming back?
People are horrified.
Yeah, do
horrified
they
when
believe
hear
it?
They believe it completely. They respond very strongly. All of my presentations and lectures are accompanied with video, and people hear the Arabic. They see the text. They see the translations. It's not something that we would ever make up. We wouldn't be around for 8 years if we made up anything.
No, you couldn't possibly do it.
In Germany, in German Parliament, I spoke. 2 members of Parliament afterwards wrote a letter to Foreign Minister Joschka Fischer, demanding, they said, that Germany take the leading role in Europe and in Germany in publicizing Palestinian Media Watch findings, because they cannot let this continue without taking a stand. We had similar response in many parliaments, as well as in the Congress in the United States. The problem is that when it comes to the final policy decisions of the people at the top, very often there are political constraints and political concerns that are guiding them. On the other hand, the roadmap, when it was written, in the very first paragraph, demanded that the Palestinians stop incitement to hatred and violence, which is a direct result of our presentations in the Congress and the Senate.
But it hasn't happened.
Again, that's the trouble. It has not happened yet. There's been a lot of recognition amongst the world. There hasn't been implementation in
No
any real
pressure
sense.
applied?
Virtually none.
What can our viewers do? I know that people will be watching today and they'll be feeling frustrated. They'll say, wow, we didn't know about this. Well, I wish we knew more about this. How can they connect to help you in wherever they are around the world? Tell the story.
There are many congressmen, senators, members of parliament, even Minister of Justice Erwin Cutler, who's aware in Canada, who's aware of what we're doing and is very supportive and has been involved in publicizing our material. And in fact, sometimes it does create policy changes. There was tremendous pressure on the Palestinians to change their school books after we pointed out the terrible hatred in the original Palestinian school books. Now they're changing them, rewriting them. Unfortunately, the new ones are not good as well. The new ones still define Israel as a foreign colony that occupied Palestine in 1948. No
Do they
acceptance
even
of
mention
Israel.
the word Israel?
Yes, as
They
a
do?
colonial power that conquered Palestine. But on the maps, they don't exist. Israel
No.
doesn't exist on
What
the
about
map.
a website that our people could find you on?
Yes, people could go to our website,
Which is?
pmw.org.il. And on our website, they can find 70, 80 different films divided into themes so they can get a real sense of what's happening in the Palestinian world, how children are taught hatred, how parents are taught to glorify their children who've been suicide terrorists, how religion has been used as a means to demand genocide of the Jews. Literally, we just completed a report.
That's the question I think that some of our people might want. The foundation of, or where is the source of this incitement coming from, or this hatred coming from? Is it a spiritual source?
The Palestinians have been teaching for the last 5 years at least, and even more, but 5 years explicitly, that God wants them to kill the Jews. It's a religious obligation to kill the Jews. They even continuously quote an ancient Islamic source from the Hadith, that's the oral tradition attributed to Muhammad. They quote a Hadith that says, the resurrection will not come, the hour of resurrection will not come until the Muslim kills the Jews, until the Jew is hiding behind the rock on the tree, and the rock on the tree says, Muslim servant of Allah, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him. Now, we have heard this source quoted over and over and over again, probably 20, 30 times in the last few years, as mandatory religious obligation. And what's so horrific about this particular source, it's not just saying kill the Jews, it's saying if you want to reach resurrection, if you want to reach the end of history, if you want to get on with God's plan in the world,
Get on with it.
kill Jews.
Yes.
That'll move history along. That is a horrific message. That's what Palestinians have been taught. And a large, significant percentage of them, we're convinced, actually believe this.
I have another question. Does Israel listen to you?
Yes.
Does it affect policy here?
It has affected policy on and off depending on who's in government. When Netanyahu was in government, we worked very closely with his office. He demanded the establishment of a negotiating committee with the Palestinians that dealt just with the problem of incitement, and I was actually Israel's representative to those negotiations. Under Barak, there was less willingness to...
And under Sharon?
Sharon, there was tremendous willingness initially. He was using our material on his trips to out of the country. He would call our office and ask him for material, and we would supply him with material. At a certain point, something changed in Ariel Sharon.
Yes.
Haven't figured that one out yet. And since then, he is not really interested in seeing the material that we have to present.
And the future of the children in the Palestinian Authority, what is it?
Palestinian children today, or at least a few months ago, according to polls, 3 different polls said between 70 and 80% aspire to Shahada. That's death for Allah. In other words, there had been, and we saw this and we've documented this, a very concerted campaign on the part of the leadership to convince their children that the most they can accomplish in life is death for Allah. Dying is the most you can do. And we've seen interviews with children talking about how much they want to die, all they want is paradise. They had music videos showing dead children running through paradise, playing with kites, going to amusement parks, and calling to other children to follow them. Because of this incredible brainwashing, today Palestinian children aspire to Shahada. Their heroes are those who've been suicide terrorists, and that's what they see as the heroic thing to do.
I was in the West Bank recently speaking with a social worker who's working in camps in Hebron, and I was with her for several hours before she would trust me enough to let me know that the biggest problem they're facing is this mentality of the young. They do not know what to do to reverse the martyr complex or the desire for martyrdom in the young.
There's been such a brainwashing. We've documented even at the earliest age. There was an article in the paper about a 6-year-old boy who was playing the Shahid, the martyr game, with his friends. And they described in the article how these 6- and 8-year-old were debating over who would be the one to be the Shahid, the martyr, the dead one. And the 6-year-old said, I'm younger than you, I'll be the one to die. Now what's so striking here is that when our children play competitive games, they want to be the one to survive and win. But in Palestinian society, the kids want to be the one to die, because already at age 6 they have learned that dying is more honorable than living.
What a challenge.
The other question that I'm sure that many of us would have is to see where do we go from here? I mean, what can be done to reverse this?
What we need is a total detoxification of the society, which means that not just the daily hate material that was being broadcast on television, but it has to be taken out of the school books. Israel has to appear on the maps, which Israel doesn't appear. Just yesterday there was an article, and we checked this out, a new Palestinian website by the Palestinian Authority, which is supposed to be a super site having links to all the different Palestinian websites, and on the homepage there you see the map of all of Israel called Palestine. There is no recognition, there has not been any desire. This can be turned around if there's a desire. But there has not yet been a desire. As long as the Palestinian mentality is that Israel will be destroyed in stages, which apparently it is, this is what they keep saying, then nothing will happen that will be a significant change. And people say, what can they do to change, and what can they do to reverse what's happened to the children? There are many things that could be done once there would be a desire. But until there is a desire to make peace with Israel long term, there will never be a change in Palestinian society.
Why,
Yeah, go ahead.
why can't we learn from history? I was just at the new memorial at Yad Vashem, and I said, why is it we always believe as humanity that if we will placate evil, it will change? It doesn't change. It didn't change in the Holocaust. What makes us think that this rabid anti-Semitism in the Palestinian Authority is going to change?
I guess the other part of that, before you answer, is, and I suggest this because of the success that had happened with the Russians, the bringing down of the communist regime, when there was economic pressure put on them, sanctions. Could there not be some kind of economic sanction put on the PA, Palestinian leadership, that you won't get any money until you remove this kind of teaching?
That probably could be effective. The problem is that, especially today, people are making so many excuses for everything that the Palestinians do. And it's not just the foreign journalists. Israeli TV, yes. We had an item that was incredibly hateful on Palestinian TV this week. A song sung to an Eastern European type tone, wasn't even Arabic music, and the song was, they were turning to God and saying, My God, in your name they, meaning the Israelis, killed me. My God, in your name they tortured me. Horrific, hateful song that's saying that we're committing some kind of genocide against them in the name of God, which is, of course, what they are doing to us according to their teachings. And we gave this to Israeli television, and the producers saw the film and looked at it and said, we don't want to put this on now because there's a new atmosphere of reconciliation. And again, this was what we heard and what we experienced before the war started in 2000, the terror war. There's this desire to ignore the hatred. Maybe it will go away. Don't focus on it.
Exactly.
And it is a terrible mistake,
Yes.
as we pointed out. But you know what? You talk about why don't we learn from the Shoah, from the Holocaust.
Yes.
They haven't even learned from 5 years ago.
No.
Itamar, thank you so much. I'm so sorry we've run out of time. For those of you that are watching would like more information, please be in touch with us through our website. It's on the screen. And we will then pass on your name to Itamar and his team, and they can send you more information should you desire. And I know it's important, the information you have. It's important you have it out there. So thanks again, and we want to wish you every blessing from Jerusalem. And as we say in closing the programs, may God bless you and your home with Shalom. Shalom, and welcome to Fact or Fantasy for this week. I want to continue with the theme that we started last week, and that is Israel and the Jewish people's historic connection to the land of promise. The fantasy is that the Jews have only arrived in the Middle East, in Israel, in Palestine, since the post-World War era, when the European nations disgorged the unwanted Jews out of the death camps of the Nazis and dumped them on the backs of the Palestinians. That is the fantasy. The fact is that the Jews have had a deep connection to the land of Israel for more than 3,900 years. The continual presence of Jews in this land has been an undeniable historical fact. The Jewish state has existed here during 3 separate historical periods, and those who challenge the legitimacy of the modern state of Israel disregard Jewish history, ideals, values, and academic scholarly facts. This untruth creates an obstacle to peace and coexistence between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Now let's go back in time. The land of Israel was promised to Abraham, the father of the Jewish people, over 3,000 years ago, as I mentioned, in the scripture in Genesis 17, 7 and 8, where it says, "And God says to Abraham, I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto you and to your seed after you. And I will give you and your seed after you the land wherein you are a stranger, for an everlasting possession, and I will be your God." Now the Jewish slave nation, which left Egypt more than 3,300 years ago under the leadership of Moses, embarked on a journey of national liberation. Their goal was to establish national life in the land of Israel and fulfill the biblical covenant, as I mentioned. Then the first Jewish state was established in Israel during the period of the kings and prophets, and lasted for about 600 years, from 1175 before Common Era to 586 before Common Era. Its leaders included King David, King Solomon, the prophets Samuel and Deborah and Isaiah. And ever since that time, the Jewish people have had a continuous, unbroken physical presence in the land of Israel. Now next week, I want to go on to explore more of this unbroken line of Israeli presence, Jewish presence in the Holy Land, and discuss some of the more current events that have happened to confirm that the Jewish tie to the land of promise is not by chance. I'm Dr. J. Rawlings. Shalom from Israel.
Shalom and welcome to our home, located on the hills of Benjamin, just outside of Jerusalem. What a privilege it is to be with you today. What is your last name? Where did you get it from? Obviously, from a father. I want to speak about fathers for just a moment. Well, Dads get a lot of names, don't they? Pops. Hey, Pops, how you doing? My old man, Dad, Abba, Papa, Daddy, Fafa. So many names for that man, that one who authored you, that one who gave you half of your genetic code. What else came to you from your father? Your sense of authority, your sense of security, your family name. Perhaps his face is stamped in yours. How about his attitudes, his reactions? You've picked so many things up from him, invisible and visible. The Apostle Paul said, you have 10,000 teachers, but not many fathers. Paul said, imitate me. He was a good father. He was a father that loved his people. For those who have not had a loving father, a father perhaps who abandoned them, father they had never met, life can be very tough because our perception is somehow altered when we don't have a living father that we can watch every day, a man who is living in the crucible of life, having to contend with the pressures and the successes and failures that are common to every man. We learn about life through how he reacts and responds. But if a man hasn't had a father, he is weakened in the sense that his ability to trust an invisible father, an unseen being called God, is very limited. It can be very limited. My husband is one of those men, and his father died when he was just a child of 10 months old. He never knew his father. He didn't know his father's family. He felt that part of his own life had been cut off. He wrote about it once and he said, there was a part of me that was always missing. There was an emptiness that could never be filled. And he said, just a few years ago, some 50 years after the death of his own father in World War II, he came across a letter written to himself, still a little child, a few months old, from this dear father, telling him, son, I love you, I miss you, take good care of your mother. When I come home, I'm going to take you fishing in Gold Stream. Oh, how healing was that letter. It was feeding into the loss. Yes, there was someone there. Yes, there was someone who loved me and wanted me and cared about me, and it did make a difference. Many Palestinian people now are coming to faith in the God of Abraham. They're asking one question. Tell us, who is this Father? I could ask you the same question. Have you come to terms with your Heavenly Father? Oh, maybe you know Jesus, but Jesus said, worship Him. For they who worship Him must worship Him in spirit and in truth. If you have questions or would like to be in touch, contact me at my website, hisstillsmallvoice.com.